Welcome to Charts Today. Comes to you today from Singapore. I'm here seeing clients for the week. I thought I'd come up and have a quick swim in the pool before we get down and look at the charts. So I'm back in my hotel room here in Singapore. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, 6:30 in the UK in the morning. So big story, first of all, is that dollar move, and that's really taken out that purple line. These are the Linton levels. You can get these on TradingView, on Updata, and on Bloomberg. But the key thing here is that we've taken out that key level, and if we look back to the weekly chart, we can see that's giving us now 4-year low on the dollar. And those who've watched my LSEG webinars will know that in December, my call number 1 of 10 was that the dollar would have a bad year, and it's already got off to a pretty bad start. And if we look at the 60-minute chart, the downside target given and passed pretty quickly, and we are below the clouds, so we're still bearish US dollar, which then means, of course, that we are bullish on the euro, breaking to new highs there. Japanese yen, where we've seen this intervention, which is what's driving the dollar, that's that intervention showing through really clearly there on the 60-minute chart, and a downside target suggesting that we still have further to fall. There are support levels here, but the key thing is that downside target is there. Sterling actually looking stronger against the dollar. No big surprises there, nudging 4-year highs there as well. And if we look at some other currencies, we've seen just really big moves in the Australian dollar. This one really topical for me, having just spent the last couple of months in Australia. We're seeing there they're just rising, and on the 60-minute chart, that upside target has just been activated. So we already had a big target in place, but that uninterrupted buying move and then the pullback activated that upside target. These are derived from those point and figure targets. Remember, that's how they work. So really quite key that we're seeing that. Bitcoin, this is really just the chart to watch in the coming weeks. Again, this was one of my calls for the year, that I felt that Bitcoin had seen its high for a while, and the reality is if we break this 84k level, then it's a downside target there as well. We have got a little mini upside target on the 60-minute, but the reality is those downside targets are all being met, and we are just breaking the cloud. But what you'll see when you've got that trend skew, the daily chart, you'll see little recoveries on the 60-minute chart that are not long-lived. So that's really quite key. We are still bearish on that medium-term chart. Now, looking at stock markets first. Well, actually, let's look at the bond markets first. Japan, which has been causing a lot of concern. If we look at the Japanese bond yield, we can see this on the 10-year. It has got this unactivated downside target where we are seeing a bit of a pullback. So we've gone high enough for now, potentially a pullback. But do note that every time we get a pullback and then a recovery, that thrust off the low is what produces the target. That's what the point and figure targets are all about. It's the thrust off each low point that produces these upside targets. So every pullback that we see, whether it be in gold or in yields like we're seeing, all of those pullbacks provide us with the opportunity to generate the next target. So we've got a target here on the 10-year, so that's quite key. Now, the big news for equities is that the Nasdaq activated this upside target on the daily. Now, you may remember I've been talking about that. That's been orange. It's turned to green because it's now been activated. That was the buying thrust, and we've activated an upside target. So that is better news. Mag 7 are not weighing so heavily on the Nasdaq, but we are still, of course, not making a new all-time high. If we look at the 60-minute chart, you can see that's the breakout there. And we can see that this target was generated off that thrust, and we're nearly there now. We have got some resistance points, but we have broken that trading range. So that is looking more positive for the US market. And if we look at the S&P future, we are nearly at that target as well. So that is quite key. Big one, of course, is Japan. That we are seeing now a downward pressure on the 60-minute. And if we look at the daily there, we can see even though we have this upside target, we've got a little lower high, lower low, which again is showing up on the 60-minute. There's the lower high, lower low, activating a downside target. That thrust move
generating that, so really quite key. But the big surprise in Asia has been the Hang Seng. That is up nearly 2.5%, 2.4%, and that is a breakout. Look at that, it's really broken. The target was already there before the break, which is really quite key, but we've had a really strong day in Hong Kong, and if we look at the 60-minute chart, we can see this target that was given here nearly met. So really, really quite key there. And that little upside target, of course, also met. So Hong Kong looking very strong. And if we look at China, also looking quite strong as well. So going all the way to a big upside target, but do watch that we do make a lower high, lower low, and then short term we pull back. So it's always worth just remembering that you've got to take in the different time frames. Now, taking a look at the just some of the tech majors, Amazon, they're up strongly, up 2.6%. Upside targets not yet making new highs, but looking quite good. Apple still failing and just really testing the cloud here, but still failing and have underperformed most of the stocks this year in the Mag 7. We're waiting for Alphabet or Google, as we know it, is to actually activate another upside target. That's looking very, very strong on the 60-minute chart. Multiple upside targets there as well playing in, so medium and short term looking quite good. Meta had a big move yesterday, not yet really activated this upside target on the 60-minute, so that's quite key. But we are seeing that on the daily chart, we are seeing improvements there. Microsoft up quite strongly. Again, still got a downside target in place, and if we look at Nvidia, that has yet to activate this upside target. Still a little bit of a worry on Nvidia that we're just not managing to make new highs. That 170 level we talked about is really important. And we look at Tesla. Now, of course, you could be doing this on any stock. You can just put the targets on the charts. And of course, you could be doing this in TradingView as well, or on Bloomberg. So here we see the yen chart. Here we see the Japanese bond yield chart with the targets on gold, Bitcoin. We can see all of those targets on there as well. So the choice is yours where you want to use them. Now, looking at commodities, Brent crude looking strong. It's just activated a new upside target. That's not enough to change the weekly picture. We are still pretty bearish on the weekly chart. We're below the cloud, but the short-term targets are there. 70 is going to be a really critical number to get back above. US nat gas, what a move this has been this week, and we'll be covering that again in our morning call this morning, but that's really quite strong. And on the weekly chart, would you believe it, this was the downside target given in 2022. That's where we went to. It was given at 5 to 142. That's where we went to. On the weekly chart again in 2024, 682. We've been up near that level as well. So really cannot just deny these targets. They're really quite key. So that's looking pretty good there. We will look at the energy mix in our morning call report. This was the TTF chart yesterday. This is the 1 minute targets on TTF. So really quite key there as well. And we will look at the whole energy mix in our morning call report out to clients in about an hour or so. Last of all, just looking at some of the others, aluminium, that paused for breadth, but now has broken to a new high. So that is really significant there. No clear targets on the daily chart, but you can see there on the 60-minute chart, really quite clear indeed. So that's quite strong. And some of the other soft commodities we're looking at, we saw cocoa up 2%, but really the chart for cocoa has been really bearish. That's the daily chart. And if we look at the 60-minute chart, we can see these downside targets all being met for cocoa. So really, you just can't ignore it. Last of all, we take a quick look at gold. Again, pushing to new upside targets. So that's quite key. Breaking and holding this 5,000 level. So that's really significant. Looking at the 60-minute chart, upside targets, there's 3 of them. There's one hiding under there. There's 3 upside targets on the 60-minute chart. You just cannot ignore them. Again, you can be doing them on your TradingView. And then silver, if we look at silver, that has been going to the moon, of course. And we've got to just watch the targets here as well. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. Bye for now.